I thought Diablo 4 was pretty good, actually. I don't want to, like, pop the bubble for you, so I'm not going to go off on it. All I can say is that Diablo 4 is the least amount of time I have ever spent on a Blizzard game, and it's not even close. It might be by an order of magnitude, you know? Like, it might be by... Like, it did not take me long into that to drop it, and this is coming from the perspective... I beat Diablo 1 on all 3 characters when it was still like the most recent Diablo game. I have hundreds of hours in Diablo 2. I have hundreds of hours in Diablo 3. So this is not like I'm not a tourist, okay? God damn, man. Blizzard used to be so good, and now they're just another company. Now they're just another company. It's crazy. Blizzard used to be like I know they were like raping chicks in the rec room and stealing breast milk from fridges even back in the good old days. I know they weren't like good, but at least they knew how to make games. Yeah, Activision ruined them. Have you played Path of Exile? Yeah, but Path of Exile just isn't that good. I'm really sorry, but there's a limit to how good your game can be if the bar for being even remotely competent at it is basically like net decking. You want a build? You want to experiment? You can't experiment in PoE. Are you insane? Are you employed? You can't experiment in PoE. You are going online and you are finding like a build to base a template off of, okay? Anyone who disagrees, I know you're unemployed. Don't out yourself. PoE is incredibly unfriendly to new players, and it's unfriendly and by the way, I've done fine in it. I've got hundreds of hours in PoE. Not like I just bounced off the game, okay? I've played it. I know what it's like. I was doing the little map shard I've done the shit, okay? But like... There's a reason why people think really fondly about Diablo 2, and it's because that shit was simple, man. Every tree has, like, I don't know, 10 spells in it. You but you hit the ground running. You've got a stick and go out there and hit imps, you know? That's when those games are at their best, not when you're like calculating the marginal utility of a 6.8 percentage point increase versus a 4.3 attack speed increase plus a 0.8% damage buff on the like. I know there's a fan base for that, but I think PoE leans too much into it, and it needs to like there's a reason why I think D2 hits so well in that. I love spreadsheets. Man, but like, is that the type of game for it? Because the problem is that for this type of game, PoE and Diablo, in fairness, it's not skill-based towards the end. Like, you're basically just DPS checking your way through everything, and then you avoid the dots on the ground that do damage to you. You're doing higher-end rifts or whatever, and it's like, you're not really playing... You're playing like a lawn mowing simulator, and the faster you kill the mobs, the faster you complete the rift, and then you win. But you're not playing like an action game. I want to hit that balance where it's like, yeah, you're really strong, but you're all... And Diablo 2 is this issue. I actually think Diablo 3 did better in its later iterations than PoE in actually having you play a game towards the later rifts, because the system of interacting with the elites and the different elite types or whatever were a little bit more punishing and engaging, I think, than some of the stuff that I saw in PoE, but maybe I didn't get far enough in PoE. I got pretty far in D3. Yet Vaush says Risk of Rain 2 is a good game when looping is exactly like this without mods. Yeah, the difference is that Risk of Rain 2's gameplay style is inherently interesting because you're bouncing around in 3 dimensions doing parkour to try to always be going at 500 miles per hour. Whereas in Diablo or Path of Exile or whatever, you're literally just like moving forward and you're a lawnmower, right? Like Risk of Rain 2 is interesting mostly because of the constant like parkour movement element. You know, imagine Risk of Rain 2, but you could only ever run. Like, you could only ever run or do a regular jump. It'd be like, wow, that game would suck. Risk of Rain 2 expansion was so disappointing. Hey, they put a patch out today. They fixed the bugs, apparently. That's what I hear. Risk of Rain 2 is really good, yeah. Oh, another big difference. Risk of Rain 2, much more skill-based. If you're... The difference between being good and bad makes it... It's huge in Risk of Rain 2. Whereas, like... You can be pretty bad, but if you have good gear, you can lawnmower your way through Diablo or Path of Exile content much better than an extremely good player who's just a little bit below you in gear. You know, it's mostly just a gearing up. That's one of the things that I liked about World of Warcraft. There are real skill differences at the higher end of rating. Yeah, gear makes a huge difference, don't get me wrong. You care about the numbers, and there are DPS checks, but if you can't avoid the fire, it really doesn't matter how good your gear is. You die instantly anyway. If your healer ain't good, how do you get the good gear in PoE without skill? You kind of just play. You just play. You get stronger in Diablo and PoE just by playing. Like that, you just farm. Like that's not. You don't have to be good. It's not like you're up in the last level of, you know, Doom Eternal. Like, oh, I can't get past this part or whatever. You just keep playing. Anything can drop from anything. Well, not anything from anything, but you know what I mean. I agree, but I'm at the point where I can turn off my brain and still beat Eclipse 8 on most characters. Okay, Photonite, that means you're good at Risk of Rain 2. I hate to break it to you. I know this must be devastating, but if you can not try that hard and beat Eclipse 8 on most characters, that means you're very good at the game. That's legitimately a skill issue. Really? Yeah, really. That's not, you're not starting every run of Risk of Rain 2 on Eclipse 8 with the best gear, okay? You're not entering that with like, oh man, well I've got my Enigma set, so, you know, I'll simply teleport over to Mephisto and instantly Mephist him up his ass and get a 0.38% chance of a rune that I can trade for a higher, you know, rune. Speaking of skill thoughts, Call of Duty players hating skill-based matchmaking. If you are talking to an individual who plays multiplayer shooting games and they're against skill-based matchmaking, it's because they're a rapist. They're a horrible human being. The only reason prominent Call of Duty players hate skill-based matchmaking is because they want to just, like, 40 new players. They've got, like, EMTs who just got off a 12-hour shift and high schoolers who are enjoying their day after they finish their homework, and they want to mow through them with no challenge whatsoever. They're just looking to get, like, highlight reels that they can post on Twitter with music overlaid of them killing, like, 17 people in a row, none of whom even saw it coming, you know? It's sickening. It's like smurfing in League, but for some reason it's more acceptable. Like, nobody would get... Like, if they were doing this shit, like, imagine in League or whatever, it's like, oh, yeah, man, I exclusively play normals as a professional player just so I'm always winning all the time. What are you doing? They'd get made fun of for it. I know some people do it, but it's like, it's so normalized in Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever. Play against people of your own skill level. Not having skill-based matchmaking hurts player retention as new players get frustrated. Yeah, dude, it's no fun to be a new player to a game. If you care about the long-term health of your game, which people who play Call of Duty professionally do not, because they're twitchy little psychopaths. But if you do, you want new players. New players are not going to stick around when they join an online lobby, and like there's a 1 in 20 chance that any player in that lobby could be John Wick, who's played thousands of hours in this game and its series, and just like instantly murk everyone on the opposing team. You either get insta-killed or have no chance of doing anything because they're already 5 miles ahead of you. I don't really see you as a COD player. I'm not a COD player. I think those games kind of like suck. The massive like red flag on them just releasing 50 of the same game rather than just having one. I know I talked shit about live service models, but I think it might actually be worse to release 20 of the same game than to just have an ongoing game that like changes sometimes. I feel like that's actually the one thing that's worse. It's really, really bad. People get bored of those games, you know? They're not, because the meat and bones of them, they're not good. People still love TF2 because TF2 is interesting. Have you played Deadlock yet? Why have I heard of this? Deadlock. Oh, the Valve thing? No, I don't do online games anymore. I've evolved beyond that. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to play single-player games that offer a substantial challenge to me, and then when I overcome them, I want to feel like, you know, I want to feel victorious, like the Disney TV show. Red Dead Redemption 2? No, I don't want to spend 70 hours doing nothing, walking around and enjoying the scenery. That's okay. I don't really care about realism as like a, you know, gameplay feature. Any good vibes single-player shooter games? Play boomer shooters. Dusk is one of the best shooters of the past decade, but people don't talk about it because they're cowards. And they're not ready for games like that, you know? Bolt Gun was mid. Bolt Gun was mid. It did not do nearly enough. And Ultra Kill's still in early access. I don't play EA games. Challenge everything. I don't do that shit. You cowards, take it out of early access. Take it out of early access. I have been waiting for Ultra Kill, for Death Trash and for Dyson Sphere program to exit early access for so long. You cowards, your game is in a finished state already. If you want to release more content, do updates after the fact. Go to 1.1, okay? Release the game. Quit hiding it in early access. You know you can go on Steam and find games that have been in early access since like 2015 and their devs haven't updated them in ages? At what point do you just say, you take down the label? You're not in early access. You're unfinished. Zomboid has been since 2013, lol. Yeah, and I don't respect that game. I've never played it, but I don't respect it because it's called Zomboid. Like you're 12. Like a 12-year-old titled it. It's good. Let me guess. Is it a game with no definite ending and roguelike elements? I'm sorry. Is it a survival crafting game with roguelike elements where you spawn into a randomized world? Yes? Okay, yeah, thanks. How'd you know? Because it's a Steam game. And it's called Zomboid. Wow, only good in multiplayer. Everything's good in multiplayer. A colonoscopy is fun if you're with friends. Ah, but it really shines in multiplayer. Oh, wow, really? Like all of life? Fixed map, a randomized spawn. Yeah, okay, fixed map is still better than... That's still better. It was such a breath of fresh air when Subnautica. It's really good, though. The best zombie game out there. It has unique graphics and shit. Man, I know what Project Zomboid's graphics look like. Please don't give me an opportunity to be mean to it, because I know it's a beloved game. Unique graphics. Really? Ah, uniquely ugly, perhaps. I'm not... It's fine. It's fine if you like it. I've never played it. This is purely just me being a hater. Purely just me being a hater. Roguelike mechanics solve a lot of the problems Vaush brought up about PoE 2. No, actually, I think we need to be over this. Every game on my discovery queue now is roguelike. I understand it's easier for indie devs because you can mix and match elements to extend the lifespan of your game. I think it's about time we started making games that end. You know? You know why Hades 1 was so good? It was a roguelike that ended. It had a story that finished, okay? That was nice of them to do that, all right? I think it's time we go back and have games that could be completed. A crafted experience, if we could please. This can apply to all media. Yeah, but most media ends. Movies end. Books end. Roguelike video games? I guess you can get all the achievements? FTL I highly recommend. Also, that shit's like 50 years old now. I mean, we've played FTL. You're okay with the mechanic as long as the story has an endpoint? Yeah, I want games to end. There are only two ways you can stop playing a game. You either finish it or you get tired of it. And I think it feels better to finish it and be left wanting a little bit more than to, like, grind it out until the last drop of enjoyment. And let's be real here, okay? There are good roguelikes, but you ain't Binding of Isaac. Okay, you're not Gungeon. You're not Hades. Let's dial it back a little bit. Not everything needs to be a roguelike. Not all of you have the ability to create an experience that captivates quite that well. Have you tried Dead Cells? I've got hundreds of hours in Dead Cells. Everything you've ever known, I have done, and I'm better than you at it, okay? Let's just settle it there, and we can avoid the subsequent questions. His most famous clips are in Dead Cells. Yeah, thanks. What if deck builder roguelike? It's never ending, man. What about Slay the Spire? Slay the Spire is a great game. Yeah, for sure. At least Slay the Spire does have a kind of ending, though, in the form of the heart and also Ascension 20 on all characters. At least that feels like you've kind of beaten the game, right? It has a progression system, and you beat it. And then it's like, okay, like that feels like the end of an arc, of a narrative, you know? That feels like I've gotten over the... I like that, at least. If they're just throwing you out there for a roguelike, and it's like, oh, well, every run, you know, you unlock some items or whatever, but it's the same run, basically. It's like, damn, so what? What am I doing this for? Is there a goal?